2 p.m. I am sitting at this bar again, wondering if the rain will ever stop. British weather doing the best again. They walk into town, it's 3 p.m. at the whiskey jar. Business lunches haven't got very far. I thought that I just saw your face again. Tied off the window pane. Guess not, I'll keep drinking, 'cause here at the whiskey jar, where people come and friendships go, we're at the whiskey jar, where Friday's fast and Sunday's slow. Here at the whiskey jar, I know that I can just be myself. Have another drink, yeah. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening, hearing, watching from. My name is JP. Welcome to LoopLab Mondays. That was a little bit of a snippet of my new single, which is called Whiskey Jar, that's coming out soon. Hi. Let me just bring the chat up so I can see it. Basically, we are live streaming on both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So if you want to give us a shout out, say hi, say where you're from, give us a shout and say hello. And this is LoopLab. So what is LoopLab? This is the first one of LoopLab, and what we're going to do is we're going to break down a couple of different things, a couple of different ideas, and this is your opportunity to ask me a load of questions about looping. It's all about looping, and it's basically about performance, it's about breaking songs down, it's about LoopLab. Hi Sam, how are we doing? I love your music, thank you very much, that's very, very kind of you. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a good old conversation and also play a little bit of music as well, all about basically looping, and we're gonna break it down, and that's the whole point, like LoopLab, we're in the lab, working on making some stuff. And if you've got questions about looping, if you've got any ideas or any wins, maybe you're looping yourself, then that'd be really, really cool as well. There's a couple of things we need to do before we get going. This live stream is actually sponsored, and it's sponsored by our friends over at DistroKid. If you don't know who DistroKid are, they are a music distributor. So if you want to get your music up on things like Spotify and Apple Music, you need a music distributor. So you can actually give your songs to them, and they push it out to all the online stores. They even push it out to places like Facebook and Instagram and now even TikTok. And it's probably about the price of about 5 coffees. So the actual DistroKid price is $22.99. In fact, if I was organized, I should do this. Haha! So basically, what you can do is, if you scan that QR code, you can get 7% off your first annual membership. So instead of charging every time they release music, every time you release music, apologies, then you can actually get 7%, that's better, 7% off your first annual membership with DistroKid by scanning that QR code. It's actually that QR code up there, so it's going to stay there the whole live stream. So thank you to DistroKid for scanning. No, I'll start again. Thank you to DistroKid for sponsoring this live stream, and someone just scanned it, that's what I was going to say. It's also gone in the chat in both YouTube and Facebook as well, so if you want to give it a click as well, you're more than welcome to. So they are sponsoring this live stream, but there is also something else I want to actually let people be aware of. For the month of August, a good YouTube friend of mine, David Shannon, is doing a Loop Masterclass. It's a live masterclass. Now, basically, if you don't know who David is, then where have you been? David is an amazing loop artist in his own himself, and what he's doing is he's actually doing a masterclass, and it is this one. So this is actually on the 28th, is it 28th of August? 28th of August at 11 a.m. New Zealand time, and it is $67. And if you are literally in a different part of the world and you aren't able to watch it, then what you can do is you can scan the QR code and then you get a link to the video for the live stream. Now, if you're on the live stream, the great thing is you can be part of it, and that's great. And you can actually get your stuff there. But that has also just gone into both the chats as well. So that QR code, that's for David's Loop Masterclass. And we are just helping David promote that this month because he's working really, really hard to do that. Right. I'll take a breath now. So I'm just going to basically, if you haven't scanned the QR code, just remember it's gone into the chat. Let's go to the chat. Hi. So Sam, there we go, that one. Sam, hi. Thank you very much. If you want to hear any of my music, it's under the name John Paul. You've also got Tokyo Wasteland as well, where I sing, and it's part of a duo. We're going to be bringing out a new single as well later on this year, which is going to be good. And it's all fun and games. G-Level, thank you for all the help and support. You're more than welcome. That's exactly what these live streams are for, and also for all the videos as well. They're just to help people. So if we can help people, that's great. Obviously, I do things like my own courses. I do things like my own live streams. So if you can do me a massive favor, I can see there's over 30 people watching this. If you can just do that, obviously don't do that in the air. There's a thumbs up underneath the video. If you can do that, it tells the gods that be that this is good, and they send it out to more people. If you really want to support me and really want to keep this going, this is going to be the first of LoopLab. We're going to do a few of these. But if you really want to support me, then what you can do is you can actually ask me a question, and you can support me by asking with a super chat on YouTube. You can use stars on Facebook. Obviously, I'm going to be talking to you about looping. So looping's my bag. This is what we do. So I'm just going to explain for people who have never seen a live stream by me before, what on earth is this thing? This is my loop station setup, as it were. I'm just going to change the view so you can get a better view of it. Let's do that. There we go. So let's go from top down. At the very top is the Boss RC600 loop station. Don't be afraid of it. Can I find it on Spotify? Yes, Sam, you can find all my stuff on Spotify. Just look for my face and John Paul, and you'll find it, JOHNPAUL. And then you can find Tokyo Wasteland there as well. So at the top is the RC600 loop station. It's a 6-track looper, but you can actually use it like a 1-track looper, 2-track looper, whatever you want to do. On the bottom row, starting in the bottom left-hand corner, there's 2 green weird things, which I'm now pointing to with my foot. They are my sort of legato connections for my guitar. So I've got one for the green guitar and one for the red guitar, which is just over my shoulder here. For those who are regulars to the channel, you may have noticed my guitar is floating in the air. I've just put up some lovely guitar hooks. And the electric one's just behind me. And yeah, so there we go. And then they go into a guitar splitter. Well, it's not a guitar splitter, it's just an A-B splitter, which is this one right here. So green, if the light's green, it's the green guitar. If the light's red, it's the red guitar, which actually works out quite well because most of my guitars are green and red. The black box in the middle is the TC Helicon Voice Live Play acoustic. My vocals and my guitar both go into that. So if I go la 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 la, and it does other things as well, does other nice tricks. The little volume pedal here, you would have seen me use that just at the very beginning. That is actually controlling the volume of the loops of this, but it's not controlling the volume of me or the guitar. And then finally, we've got the FS7 pedal sitting in the corner, and its sole job for today is to actually go up and down a memory, and that's the fastest way you can delete something without sort of having to bend down and press buttons on the RC600. Does that make sense? Are we okay? Give us a shout in the chat. Just say hello. Just tell me where you are. Just tell me where you are. Are you hailing from the UK? Are you hailing from somewhere else? We thought we'd do this at basically a different time. I do another live stream as well, which is called Tuesday Tunes. That's slightly different. What I do is I actually play a tune, like maybe a cover, and then what I do is I break it down. LoopLab is more about how to loop. So how to actually do the loops themselves. I know I do that on the Tuesday Tunes. So there we go. Sam's in the UK. Where is everyone else? We can obviously find out. But yeah, basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at doing a little bit of looping. Now, obviously, I could start with a real simple looper. I've got this monster on the floor right now. And the thing with this monster on the floor is obviously you can do lots of things. But I don't want you to be afraid of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start, according to Julia Andrews. So imagine that instead of this having 6 loops, it's got 1. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to do this in a different way. So this button I'm going to push right now. I'm not actually going to push it, but that button there says record stroke play. And then the next button next to it is stop. I'm just going to use that one for the beginning, and then we're going to go a little bit further. So how do we do a loop? Well, it's real simple. As soon as we press this button, the millisecond you press that button, it starts recording your voice, recording your voice, recording your voice. And as you saw there, I pressed it a second time to close the loop off. So I can hold down buttons to erase, I can hold down buttons to undo and things like that. It's all fun and games. But one thing we can do is, of course, is we can create things, and we can create anything from melodies, harmonies. It depends on what you want to do. And it's all down to your song. It's all down to how you do it, whether you're playing covers or originals. Now, you can basically make loops. You can make loops to just accompany you. You can make lumps. No, you can make loops to obviously accompany you. You can make loops to embellish the song that you're doing. And I think sometimes it's a little bit harder to do loops for covers because people want to hear the original. They want to hear the original song, the original loop, the original as it is on a CD, and people try and mimic that straight away. And that brings me nicely to my first kind of problem which we're going to solve in the LoopLab, which is actually taking absolutely forever to put all the loops down and then start singing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually play a song, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you a couple of different ways to do it. So let's have a look. G is based in Swindon, been looping for around 3 years. It's like an AA meeting. Hi. Based in Swindon, UK. I've been looping around 3 years and new to the RC600 and slowly getting up to speed. Cool. We've got over, I think it's about 30 videos on YouTube, and then the course, the RC600 course I do, actually has over 55 videos. So if you do want to have a look at the RC600 course, I wasn't really going to promote that today, but if you want to, go to johnpaulmusic.co.uk, and then you'll see the course there, and put subscriber in the coupon code if you want to go for it. So there we go. Sam's pretty new to looping. Started at Christmas this year with the Boss RC20, but in June I got an RC600. That's a hell of a jump, Sam. From a 20 to a 600 is a hell of a loop. Imagine basically just adding 5 more loopers. That's a hell of a loop. Anyway, hell of a loop, hell of a jump. I'm going to change this over so you can see this, the looper a bit bigger. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song which I've just got here. I'm just going to play a cover, which is Shotgun by George Ezra. Now, the reason I'm playing it is it's 4 chords, nice and simple, and then what we're going to do is I can show you what most people do to begin with, and then I'm going to show you how I do it because it's an alternative way. Okay, so this is the demonstration of what most loop artists will do. We ready?
Get it, see you later. I'm gonna hit the road. I'm gonna hit the road.
Okay, so that's what most loopers will do. They'll put everything down first, and then what they'll do is they'll start singing the first verse. So I'm going to show you an alternative way. So I'm just going to erase this. He says. So the other way of doing it is actually just putting down the bare bones of what you can do. And you noticed as well, when I was actually putting stuff down, I waited for the entire revolution of it to go all around again. And you don't have to do that. So what we can do is we can actually loop with a little bit of an intent. So let's do this again.
Alligator, see you later. Gonna hit the road. Gonna hit the road. Something's changing the atmosphere, architecture unfamiliar. We could get used to this. Time flies by in yellow and green. Stick around and you see what I mean.
So do you see the difference? There we go. I even went round again one more, like too much. I could have actually shortened that even more. So the whole point was get the beat down first, start singing the first verse, and actually have a break in between the sort of part of verse 1 and verse 1A and 1B, as it were. So that way you're actually keeping it going, but also you're actually getting the song down as you would. So, of course, you go into the chorus, and then after that, there's a little bit of a break, so you could then put the bass down. And what you're doing there is you're actually just giving the audience a little bit by bit, a little bit by bit, a little bit by bit. By the end of the song, you've got the whole loop. You can do things like that. It depends on how much there is of the chords or how fast the song is. But what you can do is, of course, you can just start playing again straight away and start singing straight away as soon as you've got that beat down. The alternative you can do, of course, is in the RC600, and in a lot of the loopers, the RC5, the RC500, even things like the RC20, Sam. There are things like rhythm sections. I think there is a rhythm section in the RC20. I haven't used one in years. And what you can do, of course, is you could use the rhythm section and just start playing first. So you could do things like that, no problem. And then by doing that, you can obviously shorten the amount of time you're there putting the loops down while the audience are going like this. Come on, sing the song then. And some people are so afraid of actually having, some people are so afraid of actually having the song not having the song exactly as it is on the CD. It's okay to break the song up. It's okay to make it different. That's the whole point of it being live. If they wanted it exactly like the song, then they should put the CD on. Listen to me, I'm an old man talking about CDs. They should put the MP3 on. So that way, you're actually creating a performance. You're not just like regurgitating the same song. I hope that makes sense. Now, I've talked about looping, and I'm talking about performance straight out the bat, and we're only sort of like 15 minutes in. Let's go back a step, and let's have a look about actually creating a really good loop, okay? So, I've got a question already, which is good, and I'm glad. If you've got questions, put them in the chat. I will try and answer them as much as I can. Oh, yeah. So, do you have a specific order to what you do first with the looping? And also, would you suggest doing all the looping recording or do it all the way through the song? See, there we go. I thought you'd like that. So yeah, so obviously the example I've just given is about actually bringing it up through the song. Now, so there's certain songs that have certain things in them, certainly if you're talking about covers, that need those bits in because you go, that's that song. So it depends on what you're doing. It depends on what song you're going for. But if you're looking to keep the audience going, certainly in a live environment, if you're in a pub or a club, and then you go, cool, yeah, I've just finished your song, everyone claps, you go, right, let me just spend 3 minutes making this loop. I'm telling you now, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them all. They're going to sit down and they're going to go, oh, no, I don't even know what he's playing anymore. So there's a different ways to do things. The alternative you can do is you kind of obviously, and please don't be afraid of this, but you can, if you want to, obviously with the looper, is you can create your own versions of that song and save them before you get there. A good friend of mine, he won't mind his talent, in fact, he's told us on a live stream, John Wynn, who is also a YouTuber, but he's also a local artist around my area. He does it where he has 2 different sets. He has 2 45-minute sets. The first half, he actually records everything live, and it does all the looping live himself. The second half, he uses the memories in the RC600, and he actually has skeleton parts already built in. He does a lot of funk and a lot of sort of like funky soul stuff. So the thing is, if he's doing a lot of funky soul stuff, and it's like, yeah, people are up and dancing, and then he goes into the next song, he's doing this. It's just going to die. That whole thing is just going to go. So the great thing about obviously these loopers, all of them, like, you know, even if you got the RC5 now, the one-track looper, you can save stuff in the memory. Now, even if that's saving just the rhythm, that's cool. You can add the rhythm in. You're doing a performance. You're still not playing to a backing track. You're playing to what you've already pre-recorded, if that makes sense. It's not like someone else's backing track. It's you. It's still your performance. So don't be afraid of that. It's totally up to you. It's also totally up to how your set list is. Hello. What have you missed? You have missed us talking about... do you put all the loops in at the beginning and then start singing? Or do you actually add a little bit of loop, start singing, and add a little bit of loop and start singing? Which I actually prefer the second one. And we're talking about in a live environment. The other thing as well, I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking tonight. The other thing as well is that it totally depends on your audience. So if you're at like a pub and you're playing 2 45-minute sets of covers, then you're going to basically try and get as many people as possible to, you know, play as many songs you can get in. The other side of it is that if you're at like a ticketed event and they're all sitting there and it's your music and they're listening to your music, they don't know what the structure of that song is unless, of course, you're Ed Sheeran and they know exactly, or you're AC/DC and they know exactly how that song goes, then they might not know what the structure of your song is. So don't be worried about putting all in and go, oh, get it all in first. And I've seen people like take 4 minutes to get a loop all together, and they're going, looking at the audience going, yeah, it's nearly there. You've lost them. Like, it depends on the audience. So if it's a ticketed event, people are coming to see you and they're coming to see your unique thing that you do with looping, then absolutely take all the time that you need, do what you need to do, but at the same time, you still don't want to lose your own audience. You want to make it exciting for them. Now, I'm taking a breath. I feel like I'm talking at 600 miles an hour, RC 600 miles an hour. So, what I'm going to do now, this is different from obviously the sort of tunes. We're not going to obviously go through different songs and how I break them down. We're going through more about actually how to loop and the song structure. If you've got questions about looping, if you've got issues with looping, you want to help with that, this is your opportunity to ask me live, that you can do that as well. And what we're going to do is, I know I've got this monster of a board here, the RC600, but what we're going to do is we're going to break it right back down to a one-track looper. So I'm going to just use a one-track looper. In essence, I'm just going to use track 1 of the RC600 and no more. And what we need to do first and foremost is actually get a really good loop down. So in order to get a good loop down, there's a couple of ways we can do that. We can use things like the metronome. You can see it flashing there on the RC600. I don't use it. Now, it depends on what you want to do. Some people do use it. Some people swear by it. They have in-ear monitoring and they want to hear the click track in their ears while they're doing it. What I tend to do is I create everything live in the moment. So if in that sense, certainly for my own music as well. So if I'm creating something, then what I can do, let me just add this on. A little bit buzzy, but never mind. So if I'm going to create one of mine, then what I need to do is I need to make sure with any song that we have a good tempo, we have a good timing. So you'll notice I do a lot of this. Get used to just strumming away and try and talk to someone while you're doing it. What that means is that you're not doing it consciously, you're doing it subconsciously. And that's the whole point. It's your internal metronome actually working for you. The alternative, as I say, is there are beats built into these loopers that you can use, but it's good to actually get used to that because it's one of those things where if you do it and you're good at it, it means that you're more likely to get a good loop down. There's a couple of little tricks, a couple of little techniques inside each looper. I'm not going to go too specific to each looper, but there's things like quantize, there's things like playing to the click and things like that. So if I want to actually get a beat down, it depends on what you're doing. So I've got this song which is called Around This Town. Now, the chords for this are... So on capo 2, it's like a C, like sort of like F sharp to G, right? And the thing is, that is fine, no problem at all. But if I put this down, that's great, but it's a 1-bar loop. So I can't now actually add this on. If I had the RC600, which I do, then I can add it on as a second loop. But if I've only got a 1-track looper, I've got to make sure I've got enough bars. So the problem is this. That's a real problem. So what we can do is let's erase that, and what we need to do is, again, we're just using a 1-track looper, so I need to make sure I've got enough of that rhythm to cover the amount of chords that I'm doing, if that makes sense. So. Now, it totally depends on how you play, and what you can do is you can actually put down as many as you need to. And then this is also down to song structures, because now what I need to do is I need to make a choice in my head. Do I, at any point, need to change the chords? Now, in this song, I do. So if I need to get anything else percussive down, and I've only got a 1-phrase looper, like an RC5, an RC3, an RC1, things like that, then, or a sort of legato loop stage, you know, just a 1-phrase looper, I need to make sure that everything I need down rhythmically is there, or I'm not going to change the chords at that point. The reason being is because, of course, if I put something down, if I put this down, that's great, and then if I go and then do beatboxing or whatever, then when I come to undo something to take it away, which you can do, which is great, and I can take it away and undo it, then it's going to take every layer on top of that as an undo as well. It's going to only take away the last recording as well. So if I then record something, press play, record something, press play, record something, press play, it's only going to take that one away. These ones are going to stay. So what I need to do is, with this song, for this song structure on a 1-phrase looper, is I need to make sure that everything I've got down, the chords, are the last thing I put down, okay? And that way, it's the first thing I can take away. So we're going to put that down. Sorry about that. My guitar just decided to have serious issues, but we're fine. So what I've done there is I've put the chords over the top, and that's fine. So we did a boots and a cats, and that's all great. And then I put the chords over the top. Now the problem now is if I record something else on top, that's going to be taken away, but the chords will still remain. So you have to be really, really clever about how you structure the order of what you're going to put down. Does that make sense? So now what I can do is with these loopers, you can hold the button down for record, and it can undo it and take it away. So it's about 2 seconds, but if I do it now, there you go, it's taken it away. And the whole point of this is so I can actually play a chorus. So this is my verse. Here's my chorus. Do you see the problem? So obviously it's a dramatic change. So now, of course, if I bring my chords back, my verse, this is where you have to time things and just get into practice with it and just be confident with it.
walking around this town where you are. Just walking around this town where you are. Please slow down and hold my hand, and I can show you that it's not all bad, 'cause walking around this town seems to where you are.
And our verse is back, right? So I redid it. So I hope that makes sense. So by doing this, of course, on a one-phrase looper, it is a little bit more work, but it's one of those things which really, really helps because you're learning about the looper. You're learning about your undo. You're learning about your redo. You're learning about what you can clear, what you can't clear. You're also learning about the structure of what order you put things in the loop itself. When you get up to things like an RC600, then of course it kind of doesn't matter because it's like you're mixing yourself. You've got separate loopers, you've got separate loops, you can turn them on and off at a whim. So you're kind of blessed. So it's just depends on obviously what you want to do. So there we go. Right then, so what we're going to do now is we're going to find what we need to find. There we go. This live stream, which is LoopLab Mondays, is sponsored by DistroKid. DistroKid are a music distribution company. If you have got songs that you want to put out there in the stratosphere, then of course you can, and you need a music distributor to do that. Have I just cut my own head off? Sort of. Oh well. And then basically, DistroKid can help you with that. Now, most music distributors charge you per release, but what DistroKid do is they charge you one price per year, and it starts at $22.99 for the whole year, which is incredible. So if you released 4 singles and another music distributor charged you like $30 a single, then it's $120, where this is $22.99 a year. And we have a QR code, which basically is that QR code just there. If you scan it, you'll get 7% off your first annual membership with DistroKid. So it brings it down to $21.38. Let me just change that. That's what we're meant to do. There we go. So $21.38 from $22.99. Now that's the musician tier. They also have a couple of other tiers. I'm on the second one, which is Musicians Plus. Now that's $39.99. Take 7% off that. Obviously, that's what you get for your first annual membership. And the reason I've got that is a couple of reasons. One, we have Tokyo Wasteland, which, of course, is the other outfit that I'm part of. So we released through John Paul and Tokyo Wasteland. And then the other thing as well is you can schedule the date of the release. You can also schedule the date of the pre-order date, which is really, really important. And then DistroKid have a load of fun things inside, and they're free. They're part of the package, no matter which tier you go for. You've got things like promo cards. You've got things like every time you release something, you get one page, like a landing page, to basically call a hyperfollow page, so people can just choose what platform they listen to your stuff on. So thank you very much to DistroKid. If you want to scan the QR code, it's gone in the chat. It's also that QR code there. It's been there the whole time. And I just want to say thank you to them for sponsoring the live stream. But also, we are not done because there is a looping course that is live that is going to happen this month, and it is by my good friend David Shannon, and he has got his David Shannon's Loop Masterclass, which is on the 28th of August at 11 a.m. New Zealand time. Now, you can work out what time that is for yourself. It's midnight here. I'm going to be there. I'm going to try my best to be there live in the chat with him. And then what they're going to also do is he's going to record it. So anyone who's actually bought the masterclass, you can rewatch it because he's actually going to give you the link to the video. And he's been working really hard on it, so I want to really help him out. So it's $67. Scan the QR code, that one. That one is David's. That one's DistroKid. So scan the QR code. Again, that's also gone in the chat as well. And then that way, basically, you're going to get some amazing Loop Masterclass off David. And as I say, he's working real hard to make sure he's got the content ready for that on the 28th. So there we go. Let's go back to the chat. How we doing, Bruce? Bruce's Arthur Wayne, I like that. That's nice. On Facebook, we are actually live streaming on both Facebook and YouTube at the same time through the amazing, wonderful Restream. Hi, 35 miles of lead. I love that. I love that. I'm well, mate. I'm well. Welcome to the first LoopLab Mondays. Ask me loop questions, and I will answer them. Semtex Cow will probably tell you I'm talking at about 1,000 miles an hour at the moment. I'm kind of just excited because it's the first one. Also, if you want to support me, thank you so much for those who have subscribed to the YouTube channel. It is terrifyingly amazing that if I just get the information here, we are at 19,957 subscribers. We are 43 subscribers away from 20,000 people. I'd never thought that was going to happen. That's just insane. So there we go. Caffeine bomb? No, not really. No, just excited. No, not caffeine. I'm really, really excited about that. So if you know someone who is into live streaming, live looping, wants information about loopers or even just music tech, we've seen some amazing stuff on the channel over the past sort of month. We're doing a little bit about Whiskey John. We did a bit about recording with your microphone. We've just seen the trip that we did to Copenhagen to go and see the new speaker from Combo Audio. Oh, it's brilliant. I know this sounds crazy coming from me. The video doesn't do it justice. You need to hear it. You need to hear it in a room. It's really cool. And yeah, we've got some other stuff coming. So there we go. So it's all fun. Can I please respond to your comment? Let's go back up the chat. I was just talking like a crazy man, wasn't I, Sam? I'm sorry. When I'm playing in a bar, or at a gig, when I'm playing songs, I don't always use the looper, so people just look at the looper. So is there a specific way to turn any song into a loop song? Yes. The answer is yes, but do you need to use it? I'm going to be devil's advocate there. Reason being is you can get there's a friend of mine, I won't name who they are. They're probably not watching anyway, and they hate looping. They hate it. They hate when they use a loop pedal, and I use it all the time. So that's fun. But they like my songs, but they don't really want me to use the loop pedal. And I'm like, well, that's what I do. So they like the studio album versions of stuff that I've brought out, but when I do stuff live with a looper, they're like, it's repetitive. And of course it's repetitive, but the fact is it's about keeping it either A, simple, or B, entertaining, or preferably C, both. So yeah, if you're using a looper, or if you've got a looper, I should say, and then it's just sitting there, and you're just playing through it, the nice thing you can do is the simplest thing you can do, I did the interview with, I did an interview with The Distance, which are a duo who are in the northwest of the UK, and they predominantly play things like weddings and things like that, and the first time they used a looper, they just went 1, 2, 3, 4, and they just looped that, and the crowd went nuts. So you don't need much. You don't have to have the looper going for everything if you don't want to. Certainly if you're doing really slow songs or really romantic stuff, you don't need the looper. But if the looper's just sitting there and it's going, please use me, and it's more about how you feel than the audience, then you can obviously turn any song into a loop song, absolutely. There are certain songs, of course, if they've got loads and loads of chords in, then you just use the looper almost like a drum machine. So, for example, there you go, we're looping. How's that? I'm going to stop real quick before I get sued. Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. Obviously, if you're basically using a looper You could use a looper to create a beat. I've done that many times. Obviously, even when it's just a beat, it just helps you with your own rhythm for guitar, but also certainly through things like a PA, if you're going through a speaker, give it an extra thud, you know, boom, boom. It's quite nice. And then that way it kind of keeps you using the looper, keeps you in time. So yes, you can do that. You can definitely do that. Yes, that's a very, very good answer. I put a Q in front of the question to make it easier for me to spot, absolutely. Or if you really, really, really want me to spot it, please use the super chat. No, you don't have to. But if you want to, you're more than welcome to. But no, it's, yeah, if you put a Q in front of it, that really helps. Q and a hyphen. Q and a hyphen. And I go, ooh, what's that? That's quite useful. Right, so basically now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this. Now, I said to you about doing lots of different things with, obviously, the looper. Now, loads of people use loopers in different ways. Ha ha, money, money, money. Sorry, my brains just went absolute west there. I am the kind of person who actually loops in a specific way. Everyone does, I suppose. You find your groove. You find what you do. And what I tend to do is I actually put down all my drums on track 1. I normally put my bass down on track 2, and I put things like harmonies down on track 3, and then I use 4, 5, and 6 as like bonus tracks. I really kind of use this predominantly like an RC300, but with advanced features. And then if I've got things like obviously effects and everything else, then what I do is I then add that in. The other thing to think about is your frequency range. So if I put everything through with the guitar and my vocal and that's it, it's going to feel pretty limited. Whereas, of course, if you thud, you know, something, or if you go and you use the octave down, so like a bass sound, it's going to sound a little bit more full. So have a think about that. I've just seen a question come up. See, I saw the question and now I'm putting it up there. I am doing my job. Oh, I'm really thirsty. Question. I see you use the microphone to record some loop parts. How do you prevent your singing from being recorded when your guitar chords are saying... sorry, it's not you writing it, it's the way I'm talking. How do you prevent your singing being recorded when you record guitar parts, like you record guitar chords, while singing the first chorus, for instance? Well, that is a very good question, and it's actually answered by I don't. What I do is I record things like the chords and I don't sing at the same time. So what you can do is you can actually change one of the buttons in the RC600, for example, to be almost like a mic mute. But what you can do is you can change it so the mic goes through the PA, just to the PA, and that's it. So it bypasses the looper. And then you can turn it on so it actually goes into the looper. So it's totally up to you how you do it. I know someone else who's got lots of people have got 2 mics. I do use one mic, and I normally, when I'm looping stuff, I kind of just loop stuff in the moment. A lot of people say, obviously, they never see the same performance from me twice. I'm just moving this around so you can see what I'm doing. So if I was to loop stuff, I can loop... Now, it depends what you're going to loop, of course, but that obviously was incredibly repetitive all the time. But what I don't tend to do is I will normally have some kind of chord or structure down, and this is what we were discussing just before. I would normally have some chord or structure just down just before, well before a chorus. Let me just change that around. Hang on a second. There we go. I'll normally have some kind of chord structure down already in the looper before we've hit the chorus. Or certainly if the chorus is changed, I'll play, and of course I'll play while I'm singing, and then if at the end of that, of course, it'll do it. Now, another thing, obviously, just to add on to what you're saying, of course, the other thing as well is sort of bleed from the microphone. Oh, you've just put it. Don't you get bleed from the PA? No. Well, yes. Yes, I do, and no, I don't. So, yes, I do, but this microphone, I've spoken about it before. It's a £30 microphone. It's made by Fifine, F-I-F-I-N-E. It's called the K8. And if I was to do this, I'm going to do this for you rejection, and it's really, really good. And what I normally tend to do is make sure that obviously I'm behind the PA slightly. I don't use monitors. My actual speaker that I use at the moment has a little sort of left and a right that I turn down, so I have a little bit going in. I don't use in-ear monitors. I've just got my chops from years and years of playing without monitors. I know people who use in-ears and obviously things like that. But I've played in, you know, the corner of pubs right through to main stages, stages. So yeah, mate, I played the O2 Arena, but well, the O2 Academy anyway. But basically, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, when you do have a monitor, if you've got you've got like things like a sound engineer, it's like turn the monitoring down, like turn it right down. Try and find a microphone that's got good rear rejection. That's really probably more important, because if you can sing and it sounds like you, then great, no problem. I've seen loads of people obviously with other microphones and it's like they sound fantastic. This microphone sounds amazing and it's beautiful, but would I take it on stage? No, because it's a studio microphone. It picks up everything, whereas you want something with good rear rejection. And then the other thing as well is just this does have a switch on it, so I can go whoomp and switch it. I'm not going to, but you could do technically. I only do that in between sets. To be honest, I don't even do in between sets now. I do 2 hours straight, so I just don't even stop for 2 hours. But yeah, you are going to get a bit of bleed. You are going to get a little bit of bleed from it, and you just have to live with that. It's not a studio recording. It's a live thing in an Irish bar on a Friday night where people are getting rocking and they don't care. If you're worried about like the pinpoint drop noises, then you should be in a studio with that. It's not that environment. I play in a completely different environment. So I play in an environment that, you know, is loud, it's noisy. I've had someone shout at me shout, "Have you got this, mate?" while I'm actually recording a loop, and it's gone into the loop and I've had to delete it real quick. So you're gonna get things like that, and that happens, and you have to accept that. And I don't mean that in a harsh way, you just do. It is what happens. So yes, I do get bleed a little bit from it, but try and find a microphone that's got good rear rejection. I've got a couple of these because they're having 2 or 3 of these is the same price of buying one SM58. No offense to Shure whatsoever, they're amazing microphones, and then the Shure microphones have a probably better frequency. But for me, this is an absolute workhorse, and if I get it busted, someone takes it and drops it, whatever, then it's not the end of the world, but it has got great rear ejection. So yeah, there we go. I'm losing the chat. What's better, the Boss FS7 or the FS6? Both. FS6 is here. This is the FS6 for those who don't know, and the FS7, hang on, I'm using my mouse, is the thing, if you're not sure what we're talking about, the FS7 is the thing in the bottom right-hand corner. It's basically the FS6, but in a condensed format. So instead of having the buttons side by side, they're actually one on top of another. So there's a button here, and there's a button here. So there's 2 buttons, an A and a B. The camera's just kind of at a slight angle, so you can't see the A and the B printed on the side. But believe me, they're there. It's totally up to you. For the sense of if you've got big old feet, it's the FS6 all the way. This bad boy, of course, the size of it is a lot bigger. So the only downside of that is the actual, ironically, sorry for the pun, but footprint. And the footprint of that, of course, is good for if you want to go, I want to press that one, I definitely want to press that one. So they are the same machine, really, but they're just in a different format. Having said that, I can't get an FS7, I can't get an FS6 on this board. I just can't fit it. So that's why the FS7 is there. That's why I prefer it on there. It's smaller, it's thinner, but yes, I have to be more careful. I did have this as things like, I did have this as rhythm start-stop on a couple of different memories, and in fact, I think I've got it as rhythm start-stop on a memory. And as I've got it as rhythm start-stop, I've done that before where I've done that with the volume control and I've accidentally pressed that and all of a sudden this beat starts raging through. There you go, I've just pressed record there, you go. Do you see that? So I've got big old feet, and of course based on this these are tiny. Would I like a full size volume pedal and the FS6 on there? Yes, I would, but I would also like Nux to make a bigger version of this this pedal board. This pedal board is called the Nux Bumblebee. It's the XL. And there's quite a few people who like it. There's quite a few people who have it. And some fantastic YouTubers who use the RC600. It's become a bit of a popular fan thing, the Nux, mainly because it's not too expensive, and it's a little bit like Meccano. You kind of just put the slots in on the side and the yellow bits are the sides, and it just works really well. Now, some people have it on the have the RC600 on the bottom. I prefer it on the top. I've got many videos explaining why. I just prefer it. It's just me. There we go. That's what it is. And yeah, so it's the FS6. If space was not an issue, I'd probably go to the FS6. And I use the FS6 with the Boss RC505 Mark II. So that's very useful if I'm using the tabletop looper. Whereas the FS7, it's just there because it's compact. It's a compact version of the RC6. I hope that answers your question, Sam. So it's up to you what you want to do. My best advice is get it from somewhere where you can refund it and give it a try. So if you can get it from somewhere that will give you a refund if you don't like it, even if it's been used, then that way you can give it a try. And if you go, no, I prefer the other one, and then that's fine. Question. I use an FC300 MIDI controller to assign mutes to my microphone inputs with a pair of SF7s attached directly to the RC600 for extra functions. I want to see your pedal board. I'm in my 40s now, and what I'm trying to do is condense everything down, hence this pedal board. And if I carry that for a long period of time, I'll start doing this. So yeah, that's beastly. That's awesome, by the way, having an FC300. FC300, obviously MIDI controller. There was a big sort of battle between the FC300 and the FC B1010 and things like that. But yeah, that's cool. That's great. It's obviously assigning mutes to the microphone inputs. And one thing you can do, obviously, to answer the question that we were asking about the microphone for singing parts, what you can do is you can assign buttons. So if you've got an external MIDI controller, or you can reassign these, and I've got a video about that. Just look for the RC600 customization video. And you can reassign them, and what you could do is you could say, well, no, don't go out on this. So on this one, I don't want the mic to go on, but then I do want the mic to go on. So you can customize that, and you can change that if you're worried about mic bleed. It's a really, really useful tip, actually. 35 miles of lead. Thank you for that. That's very good. Have you tried the SY1000? Do you like it? No and don't know is my answer. Unfortunately, I haven't tried it. I haven't had the chance to. I would like to try it though. I'm also very interested in the new synth one they've got, which basically it's got a new thing that goes underneath. The Boss, is it G something 800? I can't remember the name of it. But yes, I really want to have a play with things like that. That's quite cool. We do synthwave music, so anything that's kind of going to give me like a synth sound or piano sound or something with a guitar, that'd be really cool. You're welcome for the answers, no problem at all. You're going to tweet a picture, excellent. If you want to do that, if you want to send me anything, all my social medias are John Paul Music UK. So if you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Threads, if you're on TikTok, I'm there too. So all the social medias is that. John Paul Music UK. So there we go. Right. Lots of talking. Lots of questions, which I like. I like questions. There we go. So there we go. Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll leave that like that for now. That's cool. Amazing. Right. Hopefully you heard that. If you didn't, it was me opening a can. Okay, so what I was talking to you about before was some people with loopers will actually have. By the way, how's the audio? I take it you can hear me fine because you've been asking questions and saying thank you. Is the audio loud enough? Does it need to be louder? Let me know in the chat, will you? But basically what I was talking about was I'm the kind of looper that loop person that I've come to this like natural equilibrium of looping. It all sounds fine. Good, thank you. When I loop stuff, Of course, I've created songs with looping in mind, certainly for my own stuff. But when I loop stuff, I use sort of track 1 as my drums or my beatboxing, and I use track 2 for the bass, track 3 for harmonies. And I said to you before, I'm kind of using the RC600 a little bit like an advanced RC300, and I do use tracks 4, 5, and 6 for certain things. Depends on the song. But there are some people, and I'm going to name names here, but basically there's some people who use loopers in completely different ways. Ooh. There we go. That's better. And one person who comes instantly to mind is Carl Wachner. Now, if you don't know who Carl is, again, where have you been? Carl's amazing. Carl's got a brilliant YouTube channel all about looping as well. I'm the kind of person who will send you to other people because we should all learn from each other. But what Carl does, if you watch him very carefully, and we've had a discussion about this on my series, which is called, hang on, How Do You Loop? See what I did there? You can buy these t-shirts, by the way, if you want one. There's loops on the back as well. But we had a discussion in the series, and what he does is he actually loops his drums. He kind of splits his drums off into different loops. So instead of putting everything down on loop 1, he's got it in his head about splitting the band up, as it were, into its sections, and I quite like that. And I've tried doing it a couple of times, so I'm going to show you like what I would do, and I'm going to show you kind of like the equivalent of what Carl does. I'm not going to show you one of Carl's songs. I'm not obviously showing you Carl's stuff, but I'm going to show you kind of like a breakdown of what he would do. So let's just create a beat. So you can see there that I've actually created a drum beat all on one loop, on literally loop 1. And I just realized as I was putting the beat down, I've got the wrong guitar in my hands. Hang on. So with that in mind, what we can do is we can do it a different way. So I would actually have a beat down on track 1, and then I've actually got this button right here. That is my bass. So that's my bass, and I've changed the button from undo redo to bass. Again, go and look at that customization video, you'll see how I've done that. So while that's going, so that's one of my songs which, basically as we break it down, it's called Boss Castle. And track 1 is the drums, track 2 is the bass, and track 3 is these little harmonies that are in this sort of radio sound, which is this one. So that's all split up, that's all lovely, and that's how I loop it. What some people do for looping is they break stuff up, and I like the idea of this, but you have to really think about what you're putting where. So this is actually an idea of the same song, but actually just splitting the drums up across the 3 loops. So therefore, what you're going to do is, I'm going to put the rhythm down on track 1, I'm going to put the hi-hats down on track 2, and then the kick and the snare on track 3, but I have to make sure that I've got enough loop to put down dun and dun dun. Okay, so here we go. Now we've got that down. When I actually take that away, when we've got that, I've taken the drums away. I've taken some of the drums away. So when you've got all three going, sorry, stop that. When you've got all three going, then the thing is the whole band's playing. But then obviously when you're doing the verse, it's different. I'm still going to put the bass in the same place. So.
As the stream turns into ocean, boats rise and defy the tide. Both of them unto each other, Valentis, Jordan's eyes. You'll notice that the drums have gone from this verse, and when I press the third one, they'll come back. Here we go.
So it totally depends. Sorry, I had to be weird there, didn't I? It totally depends on how you loop, and you can obviously spread the loop up into different tracks, and it's totally up to you. But you've got to think about the length of each loop and make sure you've got the right length for the chords, as well as obviously what you're putting where. So there's no point putting the kick and the snare all the time if you want to take it off and put it back again. And it's a really clever thing that Carl does. He uses 4 loops. He uses the Headrush looper board, which is a fantastic looper as well. And he uses it in a very clever way where he then, when all 4 loops are going, it's like the whole part, the band are playing, the drummer's playing, everything. But when you take one bit away, it's like taking a bit away of the drummer and a bit of the percussion away. And it makes the levels and makes the dynamics change. And it's a really clever way of looping. I loop in a very different way, as I say. I loop where I'm kind of mixing, so as like track 1 is an instrument, track 2 is an instrument, track 3 is an instrument. But there's nothing to stop you actually doing it in that way if you wanted to, because it's totally up to you how you do it. So this is LoopLab Mondays. LoopLab Mondays is all about basically sort of breaking down looping ideas. So what I'd like to do is I'd just like to actually ask a couple of people what looper they have, if they have a looper. Then put it in the chat, what looper do you have? And it's fine if it's not a Boss one, don't worry. And obviously, I've just seen what Ed's put. Yes, love that. I would love to interview Mark on the How Do You Loop series. I have tried to get hold of him, but obviously since the lockdown, he kind of became a super mega star, and it's very, very difficult. The 3 people I want to get on the top of my list is Mark, Ed Sheeran, and Katie Tunstall. So if I can get one of those 3 this year or even next year, I'll be very, very happy. Oh, look at this. The RC50. Lovely. Fantastic. Love that. Went from the 50 to the 300. Actually, when I had the 50, it was very short-lived, actually, because then when someone was selling a 300 and I went to the 300, and it was just a great deal. However, the 50 has a very different way of looping, and you can put the RC600 like a 50. You can change the buttons to be like that. So for those who are not aware, the RC50, what you do is you select the track first, and then you have some dedicated loop. You'll have to bear with me on this. Loop, play, and stop, I think it is, or loop and play, or record and play and stop buttons. But you have to select which track it is first, track 1, 2, or 3. And it is an extra button press, but it was the beginning of what became the RC300, and then of course it all spewed over from there. But the RC50 was an absolute powerhouse, and it still is. If you know how to control it well, it's just a dream to play with. It's fantastic. But yeah, what's clever about the 600 is you can actually change the buttons on this thing to act in the same way. So you can say select that track, and then you have a dedicated record and play for the current track, whatever you've got selected. Hence why on the RC600 you've got these. Hopefully you can just about see the screen there. there's a little white dot on track 1. That is the select. So as you press a button, if I press this one, you can see now there's a white dot with the donut, but that means I've selected that track as opposed to the first track. Hope that makes sense. So yeah, really, really clever. That's cool. I love that. 3 tracks, it's all good. Don't have a hardware looper. That's cool. What looper do we have? We are using Loopy Pro. Loopy Pro is an industry changer. It really is, and it's a fantastic piece of kit where it's kind of like Loopy HD had some amazing ideas inside it. And obviously I got on the ball with that pretty early. Hence having lots of conversations with Michael, and me and Michael are still doing this series about Loopy Pro. Michael's hard at work at the moment, so we're going to be ramping that series back up soon. But basically, Loopy Pro was just like, build your own looper. It really was, and it's a fantastic piece of kit. One man making that looper, and you know, he doesn't really do music himself, which is mad. And he's done a phenomenal job, and he's worked so tirelessly hard. I remember when Loopy Pro was going to be called Loopy HD, the Masterpiece Series, or the Masterpiece Edition. So glad it's called Loopy Pro. There we go. Yeah, the RC53 tracks, the old one, really, really good. Another Loopy Pro user, absolutely fantastic. Oh, look what you did there. I like what you did there. Very clever. Nice. Indeed. We have 4 loopers. Cool. Nice. 4 loopers. The Ditto, lovely. The OG Ditto, nice. Nice thing about the Ditto, true bypass. Absolute true bypass, really lovely. 300, 600, and there is a 29-second looper built into the ME80. You've got the ME80, nice. Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of loopers inside of other things. So there's a lot of multi-effects process that they've just gone, have a looper. Things like, for example, the TC Helicon I've got actually here actually has a looper built into it. And you can get, you can even get a additional pedal, which is called the Switch 3 and the Switch 6, where you can get different pedals so you can actually use it. But if I So now it's in looper mode. You see that? I have not used that in ages. We'll get out of that. So they have lots of these things have loopers built in, and people go, "I'll have a dabble." You know, I'll have a dabble of a looper. And the thing is, people go, "Oh God, I can't get on with it, and I'm not sure of it. I don't like it." And then they give up, and they give up really, really quick. That mic rejection is awesome. Oh, thanks. Do you want me to show you again? I'm not changing the volume of my voice at all. There we go. So yeah, it's good, and it's literally. I did a review on this. I think it was back in 2019, 2020. I think. Fifine K8, and it's honestly 29 pounds. It was perfect. I've got 3 of them because if I bust one, I've got 2 more. And if someone goes, "Oh, can we say something at a wedding?" There you go. And if they bust that, I don't care. Very useful, very, very good. But yeah, there's loads of people basically who will get a looper as part of a package. They've got it as like, they've got a multi-effects process, and it's just they've bundled a looper in. So they have a go, and they go, "Oh, I don't like it." And it may be because you're on the wrong looper. It may be not the right looper for you. Just because it's got a looper on there, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the looper you want. So it's great that people obviously are starting to put I'll just see what you thought. I'll get to that in a minute. It's one of those things where people. It's great that people obviously have different options now. So you've got things like tabletop loopers like the 505. You've got obviously Loopy Pro, and you can control it with feet or hands. And you can do that with this. You know, I can put a hand controller on the iPad and control the RC600 if I wanted to. So yeah, there's absolutely loads out there. And what I'm trying to get at. I'll start waffling, is that it's one of these things where if you're looking to add looping onto your personal arsenal, as it were, and you're already a musician, you're already playing, or you're dabbling, or whatever, unless you're writing a specific song which has looping built in, don't change what you are doing just for the looper. Now, if you're obviously going, "I want to incorporate the looper into this, that's my definite goal," great, no problem at all. But you've just said it, you want to incorporate it in. You don't want to actually change your entire setup just because of looping. If you want to become a loop artist and you want, and that is your unique selling point, as it were, like for pubs and clubs, and fine, no problem at all. But if you're already doing something and you go, oh, well, I've got a looper, so I must use it, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. So what I would suggest is don't change the way you play just because a loop is involved. So that is the easiest way I could suggest. And then the other thing as well is just get used to tapping your feet, tapping your hands, get your internal metronome just absolutely spot on. There are aids, there are BPMs, as I say, there's rhythms inside all these loopers. And, I'm starting every song today with, you might not want to start a song like that. You might want to start it with chords. So, thought I was playing normal tuning when Dad got. So, if I wanted to, hang on. So I have a song which is called Old Hill, and I've played it for years. And I've always kind of... But a couple of times I've actually started it with the actual chords. Now the great thing about this is it was built around a looper. The actual tune was built around a looper itself. So if as long as I get the timing right...
So many worries, but I'll talk to you. I'll sit down and hear your troubles, a century or two. So you can do things like that. But as long as you've got the tune, as long as you've got the timing, that's quite... Obviously that is kind of like almost like a 2-bar loop in itself. And the thing is, obviously I can do that, and I can just start with that nice little like ditty, as it were. Of course, at that point, it's very, very important to be able to hear yourself, and then, yes, you've got the thing of bleed and being able to hear yourself. So, yes, it is important for that. It depends, obviously, on what kind of context you're doing it in. You may, as I say, not want to start with a beatbox or a rhythm. You might want to start with the guitars, or maybe just a lot of harmonies, depending on what you're twiddling or singing. It makes a lot of difference. Now, what really helps me is having that internal metronome to basically go. If you look very carefully at my hand, if I took the chords away, I'm doing that anyway. Imagine I was playing the chords. Yeah? So it's a nice little trick, almost trick, but you know what I mean, it's nice to... Certainly if you're a rhythm player like me, not really a soloist as it were, but basically if you're a rhythm player and you've... Very, very easy to do with you're just replacing that, which is quite nice.
Right, a couple more questions. Nice. I like that. Good question. Do you use single mode, like on the RC50, for 3 song parts, verse, chorus, bridge? I use that a lot. Yes, I do. That's why, let's go back over to this. One sec. You know that thing that Macs do at a certain time? It's just gone all yellowy. There we go, that's better. That's nice, it's meant to help your eyes, it's all good. But I just don't need it right now. Yes, so let me just bring this back up. So yes, I do, and this is why I have different modes. So of course, an RC600 has 99 memories and a loop ain't one. And I have a couple of different modes. So I've got single mode, and I've also got it fundamentally changes the buttons. I just realized that you didn't hear me there because I've got an effect on the multi-mode. So JP multi-mode. So I've got single mode, and instead of this basically being track 1, 2, and 3, hence 1, 2, and 3, it's actually 1 to 6. So I've got this all on 1 to 6, which is then every mode. So I can do this. So what on earth just happened there? Well, the way I've got this planned out is track 1 and 2 will play as multi-mode, and then tracks 3, 4, 5, and 6, which are 3, 4, 5, and 6, are actually in single mode. So we can have a verse, chorus, bridge, and something else, and then what you can do is you can actually then have these still playing as a rhythm section. As I said to you before, I don't really use the rhythm section of the RC600 a lot. I use it in a couple of songs towards the end of the night, but then obviously mainly it's quite good that you can keep the rhythm going while you don't have to re-record it for every section. So then these will carry on almost like a beat buddy, as it were, but it's my beat, it's the way I've done it. And then you've got verse, chorus, bridge. So I'll actually split these up, so I'll have like that, and I'll have a kick and a snare normally on there, and I could just take that away again, which is really handy and really, really useful. So yes, but then the other one, obviously you can have it as all 6 parts if you really wanted to. You can do it in multiple different ways. It depends on what you want. No, it's lost. So there we go, if you know what I'm talking about. Little Too Sweet can't beat the OG punk. Yeah, no, fair enough. No, it's lost. I like lost, it's quite good. So, yes, absolutely. So this is a really, really cool thing you can do. I'm just going to change the view. Are you going to let me do this? Yeah, no, that looks weird. Let's go for that one. Yeah, so this is really clever. So you can have any of the 6 tracks in any of the modes. So you can have track 1 in single mode, track 2 in multi-mode. If you're in multi-mode, it means it plays together, and single mode is obvious. It plays as sort of like a verse, a chorus, bridge, that kind of thing. So I decided to actually have this as a bit of a change. So what I'll do is let me play one of the tracks I use for this. Let's just go that way, and then what we'll do is we'll go like that. There we go, that's better. So you can see what I'm doing. So this, as I said to you, tracks 1 and 2 are in multi-mode, which means they'll play all the time unless I tell them not to. And then tracks 3, 4, 5, and 6 are basically verse, chorus, bridge, whatever you want, in whatever order you want. So. So what we've just done there is you've just created something that is both continuous and changing at the same time. So let me break this down. This is the beat, just the rhythm, the strumming the guitar, and then I did a kick and a snare, and then I added the bass of D with my voice because it goes on throughout the whole song. Then we've got our verse and the chorus.
Drinking in the morning sun. Drinking in the morning sun. Shaking out for everyone. Yeah, but like a loaded gun.
And I'll just carry on there. No problem. And then of course when we get to the second half of the song, press this, you can see it's flashing. I've set it to loop end, so it will not play until it gets to the end of the last loop. So I can press it way in advance. It doesn't matter. I don't have to do a thing. Now, the only downside of this is each one of them you have to double tap to stop, but it's really useful. And of course, I've just got it set up with 2 of them as the multi, but you could have 3 of them as the multi if you wanted, and then 3 as the the verse, chorus, and bridge. If you don't need obviously 3, you could have 2. So you could have actually these 2 as your multi, and you can have play, stop, for just a verse and a chorus. It's up to you. And then you've still got 2 loops on the other page if you wanted to. So there's loads you can do with it, absolutely. So this depends on what you're having. So what pickups am I using? That's a very good question. Give me 1 second. We're just going to move this over. There we go. So the pickups I'm using are actually the ones that came with the guitar. I haven't changed this specific guitar. I've not changed in 20 years. It's the original OG APX 500. So they are a piezo. You're absolutely right. So it doesn't sound very, very thick when you're just playing it in the room, but it sounds fantastic when you plug it in. And I've always used that. So this is the 500, and then they made a load more, and then they stopped it, and that one is an APX 600. So it's both Yamahas, the APX 500 and the APX 600. I do want to get an APX 1000, but they're very, very expensive. So there we go. It's like a multi-mode and single mode combined. Yes, exactly. And yes, you're absolutely right. 10 points to you. That was Elbow. And that's an absolute stormer when you're playing that at sort of 10:45, just before they round up. And that is, everyone sings that. It's really, really good. Really useful. Question, what are single mode tracks quantized to the length of track? Sorry, I'll start that again, shall I? Are the single mode tracks quantized to the length of track 1 and 2? No. So this is something that comes up again and again and again with the RC600, is have you got them to the length of the track? Just to let you be aware of a little bit of wording on this, what you've, just to let you know of the terminology, and this isn't me, this is the way Boss write it, okay? So quantizing is not the same as loop length. So if you quantize something, it's going to basically shift it to the nearest bar, but the loop length is the length of the track. So basically, yes, all the tracks are quantized. The whole system is quantized, in fact, so therefore it'll do it. But then the tracks themselves, the individual tracks, are actually in what's known as free mode. So free mode means you tell me how long it's going to be in derivatives of, if that makes sense. The other thing as well is that, as I said to you before, I've set the single ones to, when you press another button, is loop end. What you may have also noticed as well is this is something that can happen on the RC600, which is really cool, is I started this one and just went Now, what most people will do at that point is they'll tap that again to close the loop. If you then go to another loop, that will automatically close. So you then don't have to wait to go around an entire revolution again. And that is something that is really handy, and of course will speed up your loops. That's kind of what it's all about, really, isn't it? That is a good combination. Now, I have a question for you, Gary. Does that mean that you have the chip in it? And you know what I mean when I say that. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, the FCB 1010, the Behringer absolute monster of a MIDI controller, there was a unofficial sort of chip you could buy, a little module you could insert, and that would upgrade it basically. But for some loopers, it really plays havoc. Certainly with the newer ones, would you believe? And it was a little bit of a fix, really, but then I don't know, some people have said they've taken them back out again because it plays better with things like the RC600. So I'm very interested to know if you have the module, the upgraded module built into your FCB 1010. That'd be very interesting. And how does it play? How is it? Is it all right? Right then, so where are we? Cool. So for those who don't know, this is LoopLab Mondays. We're talking everything to do with looping, and this live stream is sponsored. It's sponsored by our friends over at DistroKid. So DistroKid is a music distribution company. They basically will give your songs to all the music places. What am I talking about? Like Spotify, like Apple Music, like Amazon Music, like Deezer, like Pandora, like Tidal, like Facebook, like Instagram, like TikTok, and all the other places as well. Did you know that actually if you use your music in stories, like I've been doing on my Instagram page, you get paid. So you get paid the amount of times it gets played over, which is really good. So yeah, you could put your music up there, and then what you can do is you could actually start getting paid for just basically making Instagram reels, which is really cool. So most music distributors charge you per release. DistroKid do it a little bit differently and charge you per year. And they charge you one price, which is $22.99. And with that QR code, it's been there the whole time, but that QR code, you get 7% off your first annual membership from me. And then that way, you can start distributing music right up until August of next year. Think of all the different songs you could do. Think of all the different albums you could do. We created a live stream album. So we did a live stream with the RC505 and an iPad, and people were putting song ideas in the chat, and we made an album of it. And that album is now out there because it was actually done on DistroKid. So let me just find it. Where is it? There it is. So this is the album, which is called Live Unrehearsed, and it's called Looping My Brain, basically. And there's a couple of people who gave their ideas into it, which was quite fun. So that was all done through DistroKid because, of course, I was able to take the live stream, tweak it a little bit, and then what we did was we then released it. You could release live streams of your music. You could release acoustic albums of your music. You could release anything you want to. You can, yes, even release covers. You do have to pay extra for that. But let's get your first year, I was going to say first month then, first year 7% cheaper, which is $21.38 in dollars. So how many coffees is that where you live? You know, how much did you spend on a guitar or guitar strings for an entire year? You can actually distribute your music for a lot less. So thank you very much to DistroKid for sponsoring this live stream. And the other thing as well is that we are just obviously highlighting a YouTube friend of mine, which is David Shannon. David Shannon is a fantastic loop artist, and he has got a loop masterclass, and that masterclass is on the August the 28th at 11 a.m. New Zealand time. You can work out what that is for yourself. It's midnight here in the UK, but even if you can't attend it, or if it's too early or it's too late, still go, because what David will then do, he will give you the link to the video once you've bought it, so you can watch it anyway, and the information that he's gathering to make this loop masterclass is gold. So I will be there because I want to learn from David, and I do this stuff as well. So we all learn from each other, and I think it's a fantastic thing. So I'd really like to promote David with this. I'd really like you guys to help him out. So please go and check out his loop masterclass. Click the link, scan the QR code, and then that way basically he can guide you in the world of looping. I hope you saw that. Anyway, so there we go. Now we're just going to basically do one other thing, which is a little bit of a selfish thing for me, which is the YouTube channel started years and years and years ago because I was a musician. I'm gonna make it, and then I started taking YouTube seriously and doing a video a week in 2019 with less than 100 subscribers. We are the beginning of August 2023, and we are about 40 subscribers away from 20,000 subscribers. So what I'm trying to say is, first of all, thank you very, very much to those who've subscribed. Thank you so, so much to those who have trusted me with just everything, with like the courses that I do, the advice I've been giving out, the videos we've been making, the live streams, of course, and then also what I'd really like is if you know anyone who would like this, then you would basically like to share that information with them, then please share the channel out. We'd love to get over 20,000 subscribers by, well, today, let's just do it today. So give this live stream a like, a thumbs up. What that does is it sends it out to more people, and hopefully they'll like it too. If you really, really like it, of course, you can share the channel with friends and family or other musicians. I like to say a rising tide lifts all ships, so let's all help each other. And then that way, basically, we can also do that. But selfishly, it means I can get to 20,000. And then after that, the next tier goal for me basically would be, let's just go for 30, let's go for 40. And that'd be really, really cool. I can't believe how many people watch this channel. It's crazy. So yeah, there we go. And moving swiftly on. Let's go back to, what? What did you say? I have 20-hour-old bass strings. You have 20-hour-old bass strings. Oh, you only put them on in 20 hours ago. I hope that's what you mean. Don't you just keep tightening them up? Yeah, just keep tightening it. And then they'll snap. That's also why I have two guitars, because this is in Dadgad, and that one, sorry, wrong way. That one's in normal tuning, and I used to change them in sets in hot, sweaty pubs, and the amount of strings I broke was incredible. Oh, okay, 20-year-old. You might want to change them, or get. You'll probably, if you ever change them, it'll sound so bright to you. Be like, oh no, it doesn't sound like my bass. So we've got about 25 minutes left because we're going to finish just on 10 o'clock UK time. So what I'd like to ask now is, have you got any burning questions for looping, loop pedals, loop pro, loop setups, looping live, for example, like this? How do I do it? I don't know. Let's find out. So if you've got any questions for that, then basically put it in the chat, and then that is exactly what LoopLab is all about. It's about breaking down looping, breaking down some of the myths of looping as well. Do you need a big looper to get started? Absolutely not. I had a looper, and how I got started, it didn't have an undo, it didn't have a redo, it had about 30 seconds of loop time on it, which was the Akai Headrush E2. It's the same looper that Katie Tunstall used. And yeah, I got a little mini mixer so I could plug in both a guitar and a microphone at the same time. Then I moved over to the Boss ones, and then the rest was history. I did obviously have other ones. I still have the Headrush looper board. It's sitting down there, crying. Yeah, just basically depends on obviously what kind of looping you want to do. I've always gone for guitar looping, hence pedal board looping. But then also recently we've been doing a lot to do with things like Loopy Pro, using the Boss RC505 Mark II. Little teaser for you. If you use the RC505 Mark II, then Boss have just brought this out. Oh yeah, nice. So that is the new BC505, which is the back-carrying backpack 505, so you can put your 505 in it. So I'm doing a little thing on that later, next week. Literally just arrived today, so I just thought I'd show you, why not? Now the thing is, obviously we can all talk about timing, we can all talk about, of course, how you loop. The structure of loops, of course, is incredibly important. And one of these things, why did I put it in that mode? That was weird. I'm trying to put it in that mode. Sorry, there we go. Very professional here. What I'm trying to talk about is the structure of loops. And when I say the structure of loops, I mean basically where you're putting things. Now I use this patch, which is what I call JP01 a lot. And I use that probably about 80%, maybe more than I do any of the others. However, there's a couple of songs that I do that I actually use different patches for. So I'm going to show you them in a second because we have another question. Name the song. Do you use the drum backing loops from the RC600? Are the drum loops programmable or fixed? And can you do a drum fill? So question answer for you. Basically, do I use the drum backing loops? Yes, there is an entire rhythm section inside the RC600, and yes, I do use it. Are the drum loops programmable? Yes, they are. There are, I think it's something like 220 drum patterns through, I think it's, I can't remember off the top of my head anymore, but I think it's something like, I think it's something like 20 different drum kits. But what you can also do as well is you can have SMF files. So standard MIDI file, you can actually do that, and there is now a program which is the RC Rhythm Converter, and you can make your own beats and bring them in completely your own, completely what you want. You can't change the drums themselves, but you can change the beat. As in, what I mean by that is there's a certain amount of kits, and then that's it, you've got the kits. But you can't change the you can't change what the kits are. But what you can do is you can use those kits and you can make in that. I hope that makes sense to you. And yes, if you ask it to, it will do drum fills. You can do that certainly. So there we go. And Gary says yes. He's a little bit behind. Yes, you have the chip. Okay, cool. And it works okay with the RC600. There's my next question to Gary. Me and Gary are just having questions. We're playing question chess. So what I was talking about was this. Let me just set this up. Hang on a sec. Now, I've shown this before on the channel, and it does get a little loud, so I'm just going to turn the looper down a little bit. But basically, I play, this is one of the songs I play as a little bit of a semi-backing track, which is Justin Timberlake's Senorita. Now, this uses all 6 loops for this, because I've got it all split up into bits. But there is a breakdown, which kind of is the chorus of Senorita, and then I'd need to change all these different things again. So what I've done is I've actually put that on another memory. And what one clever thing that the 600 can do, and also the 500 and the 5 and all these other different advanced loopers now, is if you have a memory and you've got stuff on that memory and it plays, if you've got stuff on the next memory and that plays as well, it will play and it will do it seamlessly. So what I did was I started with this one. That might be a bit loud. Now what's going on there is I'll stop it there. What's going on there is actually me doing beatboxing, but also at the same time, you can't hear me now, can you? So what's going on there is me doing beatboxing and also using the rhythm section as well. So I've just realized I could turn it down with the volume pedal on my looper. Why didn't I do that? There we go. So basically what's happened here there's the drum pad, there's the rhythm section, right? That's me. And I'm going to play the rest. Now the problem is, when we get to, when I look into your eyes, it's all different. It's actually really different on the track. And what I've done is on the second mode, you've got 3 modes in the RC600, you've got like 3 pages per memory, as it were. You'll notice that is actually blue. This is the beat. And this is blue, and what that is memory up. Now, I've got a memory up here anyway, because I was using this for different things at the time. But that's a memory up. So I'm going to play everything, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press that blue button, and then you're going to see it go from Senorita, which is on memory number 23, and it's going to go to Senorita 2, which is on memory number 24. Have a look at this. So what on earth just happened there? Well, basically, that blue button I've programmed on each different memory. So what it is on the first one, it actually plays it all, and that's fine. And then that blue button says, hey, go up to upper memory, just up one memory. And because it's playing, it'll play the next one. So when we do that, we go to Senorita 2. And that very same button on this memory is memory down. So they just go up and down. And again, I've set it to loop end, so therefore it won't do anything until the end of that loop. So we can just go, when I look into your eyes. In fact, let's do it. Good one guitar. What this does, as opposed to just being a normal backing track and just going like A to B to whatever, like a verse and a chorus, what this does, it means that everything is still separate. It's almost like a mixer. So I've got everything in the same place. So, for example, so on track 2 is the bass. Just change over to Senorita 2. idea. So each track is actually the same. You notice on Attenuator 2 there's one track that's missing because we don't need it. But this is a fantastic way if you're worried about multiple parts and you're going to have to re-record everything all over again. You could have this set up at home, and then when you get to the gig, you just hit it, and it is a backing track, but it's a backing track in pieces. So I can take things out and bring it back in again. So we can start. Like this. Let's bring the bass in. Take the bass out. So you can really, really mix and play with it, which is really, really cool. I just wanted to showcase that because it doesn't matter. You could have something of 6 different parts. We could play something by Boston, and as long as you've got enough memories to actually go up and up and up, you can do it. And it's something that's really, really fundamentally cool. And what I really like about that is that yes, it's going to take a lot more work. You're going to have to set it up at home. It might not be the right volume compared to other things, but that's why I've got the volume control here on the pedal board, because that controls the volume of the loops, and that doesn't control the volume of this or this. And then you can just play around with it, and of course, you just get people rocking. It's already set up. It's already ready to go, and then that means that you're not losing people when it's like later on in the set, and people are rocking, and you just want to keep that flow going, which is really, really good. So back to Gary and his RCB 1010. Fine, it's limited my setup a little bit as it likes to set the LEDs on and off. Oh, yes. So basically, with the RCB 1010, you have to kind of tap it and then tap it again, and then it could maybe turn the LEDs the wrong way around, potentially. So there we go. Now, this is a very good question. Which power supply did you finally pick? I haven't yet. I haven't picked a power supply, and I've done something a little bit unorthodox. You'll see just here, there it is, I'm moving it with my foot, that there is a single connector coming out for all of this. I am using the supplied power of adapter for the RC600 to power it all. I know. It's not giving me any grief whatsoever. It's actually powering the RC600 and the headrest looper board and the FS7 pedal and the switcher. Move that over there. It's powering it all. Let me just show you. So this, I've got a daisy chain going in. There's one of those little daisy chain things. That is the official Boss power supply, and it's powering that pedal, that pedal, and that pedal. So yeah, I know. What I do want to do, eventually, I kind of got sidetracked with it because I had some gigs and stuff, but I do want to have this as a completely sort of like portable system. Now, just up here, just out of shot, it's not meant to be in shot, but it's there, is a power brick, and that's actually powering my phone, which is what I'm using for the camera right now, but for the top-down camera. But there's a company which has these cables you can get. Sorry, my drink just decided to go for a bit of a slide and made me panic. There we go. So there's this company which I think they're called Ripcord or something like that, and they have these cables so you can take a normal power brick and power things like that. But you have to get the right one, and I need to figure that out. Ideally, I'd like to get a dedicated board, absolutely. So yeah, it just depends on which one you go for. And yes, the Strymon. So there's loads of different ones out there, and of course it depends on what you need. So I need something that's going to power both the RC600 and the headrest looper board. And sorry, the RC600, oh my God, could you imagine? The RC600 and the TC Helicon, and a little bit more as well to obviously get this FS7 pedal as well. So yeah, I've still got to figure that out. But that's something that's still on the horizon for this pedal board. Stay tuned as I will do some testing, do some inquiring as to what I'm going to need for that. Quick question. Looks like the configuration possibilities of the R600 are endless. How long did it take you to master it? It took me a long time to master it. In fact, it took me so long that... Hang on a second. What happened there? Oh, there we go. It took me so long, in fact, that I actually made a course. And I'm not here to promote my course today, but I do have a dedicated RC600 course. It's got over 55 videos. There's over 30 videos already on YouTube. But that RC600 course, it's $197, or you can actually get it 4 months for $50 each. And if you put subscriber in the checkout code, you get 5% off that price. So yes, I probably about, I'm good with loopers. Okay, I know how they work. So that's kind of my thing. But so it took me a good few months just to get my head around it officially, and then as we were making more videos for YouTube, like people were saying, can you do this, can you do that? We started figuring out more patches and more things you can do with it. The next thing is actually having a look at the RC600 editor by John Taylor. That is a phenomenal piece of kit. So if you're not familiar with this, John Moose Taylor from the RC600 Facebook group has actually written an RC600 editor for PC and Mac, and it's no shy of brilliant. And just have a look at it, simple as that. Which one? The Strymon. Which Strymon? The Strymon Zoomer is great. And we've got 2 people talking about the Zoomer. Ooh, I'm going to have to look at this then, aren't I? Okay, my dedication to you guys. I will look at the Zoomer and maybe we'll reach out to Strymon and see what they want to do. That'd be really cool. All right, brilliant. So, this live stream is called LoopLab Mondays. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and do this as much as possible. Obviously, what's happening on a Monday. But basically, LoopLab Mondays is all about breaking down looping, breaking down the myths of looping, helping you get into your looping stride. If you've got any questions, then obviously we're going to be doing this on Mondays. And then the other thing as well is if you've got any questions and you're watching the replay right now, then this is actually going to be replayed. Of course, you can put your questions down as comments under the video. And then obviously on the way down, just give this a little like, and that really helps. And if you've got massive questions, put them under this video, this live stream. And what I'll do is I'll gather them for the next one. So if you've forgotten to ask me a question, then of course I will answer them in the next one. No problem at all. So I'm going to end the live stream there. So thank you very much for obviously joining us today. And it's been fun. It's been good. So we're going to carry on doing LoopLab on Mondays and then see how you go about it. So I'm just going to put this little sign up. And then we're going to say good evening. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening from. My name's JP. Thank you very much for tuning in to LoopLab Mondays. Have a good week. Happy looping. Sunday morning, in my head again, a New England rising from the dirt again. All I have for now is just
you.